I used to spend all the money I barely have to buy things I barely need to impress people I barely like. And at the end of each month, I will have very little money left, let alone try to invest. So you can imagine that trying to be financially independent was a very, very distant dream. Now that I'm saving 60% of my monthly income and I'm on track to be financially independent 5 years from now, I realized that the path to save 60% of my income was simple, but definitely not easy. So through many trials and errors, here's my step-by-step process on how you could save an X percentage of your income. Now, the first step to this process is why. Why is this goal of saving X percentage of your income important to you? This sounds really cliche, but it's by far the most important element to keep you going when times are tough. The second step is, what is your minimum viable lifestyle? That is living expenses plus the non-negotiable comfort things you want in your lifestyle. The third thing is earning potential. How will you grow your earning potential over time? I'll explain this more in just a second. And a bonus tip, what's your support network that will hold you accountable? Now, if I show this process graphically, and yes, it will be post-tax income, the horizontal axis is time and the vertical axis is dollars. The black line will represent the minimum viable lifestyle, essentially your expenses, and the blue line will be income per month. Then the gap between the expenses and income will be your savings rate. So as long as your income is growing faster than your expenses, then naturally your savings rate will be bigger and bigger over time. There are a couple of things I want to note here. My circumstances are very different to yours. I don't have any children, I don't have any dependents just yet. It's just me and my partner. And secondly, I did not start at a high savings rate. I actually started at 20% because I had no idea what I was doing. And thirdly, no, I'm not a trust fund baby. My family, my parents were well off enough that we have shelter and food, and that's about it. Also, I want to point out that there is nothing special about me or the process. But through tons of trial and error, this is the process that worked best for me. Let's make this more practical by using myself as an example and go through the process together. The first step is why. Why is saving a high percentage of my income important to me? The simple truth is that I don't want money to be a problem for me 5 years from now. That is, I want the option to suddenly take an extended break away from work and have all my expenses being paid for by my portfolio. I've also had some very tough situations I won't go into detail when I was younger, and it seems like money is at the heart of a lot of those problems. So I do not want to fight about money with my partner or my friends ever. Now, for that to happen, I want to be financially independent. And to be financially independent, I need to invest as much of my income as possible. And having a high savings rate will help me do that. And that's why having a high savings rate is important to me. Everyone's reasons are different, so don't lie to yourself. If you want to be balling out of control, then you want to be balling out of control. There is nothing wrong with that. Once you have your why, you want to be honest about your living expenses plus the non-negotiable things you want in your lifestyle. I'm going to use the acronym MVL in short to replace minimum viable lifestyle from this point onwards. So a good example of this is when I started working, one of the non-negotiables that I want in my lifestyle is having a coffee that was made by someone else in a coffee shop. That's not a crime. There's nothing wrong with that. And I want to be able to pay for my dates. Those are very simple asks. But because I was living at home, my MVL was approximately $1,500 a month. My savings rate was like close to 10 to 20%. So you can imagine that there wasn't a lot of money left over to try to invest. The important thing you need to know is that at different stage of your life, your MVL is probably going to change and your expenses will probably grow, and that's okay. Mine went from $1,500 to $2,500 when I was living at home. And now that I have a mortgage to pay and also a team member to help me out with things, my expenses have grew to more than $4,000 a month. And that brings me to my next point. You need to make money to spend money. As long as my income per month is growing faster than my expenses, then my savings rate is going to be higher and higher over time. So now that I've loosely defined what my MVL is, the next step is to think about how I can generate more income. This is very dependent on your career and your industry. When I first started my career, I was in a corporate world. The way to earn more in the corporate world is to climb the ladder faster. But the incremental jump between the different positions is not that different until you are about 4 to 5 years into your career. Of course, that really depends on the industry you're in. But to be perfectly honest, I wasn't interested in the work and I wasn't patient enough to wait 4 to 5 years to grow my income substantially. So I betrayed fulfilling my Asian prophecy and jumped into the digital marketing world. In that world, to earn more income is actually pretty straightforward. Either you help the business generate more revenue, or you help them build a team that will generate even more revenue. For me specifically, I helped the company I was at generate more revenue via Facebook ads and Google ads. And yes, I had to learn to do it just like everyone else. That grew my income by 40% that year. And once I got that down pat, I helped to build a team that could do it even better. And that helped me grow my income by another 40%. Granted, that by the way, I did a relatively good job in both of those things. So you can imagine that once my income is growing substantially and my expenses are growing at a slower rate, the amount of money I'm saving every month is becoming bigger and bigger. Then after that, the next challenge is, how do I grow my income even more via side hustles? Well, that also took a lot of trial and error because, again, no idea what I was doing, but I've summarized all my learnings in my video, Building 7 Income Streams in 9 months. Some of the highlights from that video are, you want to do these side hustles one thing at a time. You also want to leverage your existing skills into side hustles. And you want to build systems to get your time back from the side hustles so that you can reinvest your energy elsewhere. But all of the above is assuming that you're going to stick to the plan, and that's probably not going to happen. And that's why I needed a support network. My support network are people who are on similar wavelength, potentially even people who have similar goals and might be slightly ahead in your goals. But most importantly, these are the people that will pick you up when you are at your lowest. Now, to find people who are like-minded, there's just no way around it other than putting yourself out there. Nowadays, it's much easier to do it because of Reddit, online events, or meetups. But I found my group of people via university events, telling people about my aspirations, or even more crazy, telling people I work with my aspirations. The thing you need to know is that you want to be very, very careful who you let into your support network. You want people who are genuinely happy for you and want to see you succeed. The people who are fake happy for you are pretty easy to identify. So you want to trust your instincts on that because they're pretty spot on most of the time. The same thing applies to you as well. Are you genuinely happy for your support network? And eventually, that's how I ended up saving 60% of my income every month. The question is, how do you invest that extra money that you have every single month from here onwards? And I talk about how I personally do that in this video right here. Until next time, my name is David Quan. Otto will do the honors and see you in the next video.